Let me tell you something that wasn't supposed to happen. 3 years ago, the San Antonio Spurs were the worst team in basketball. Dead last, tanking for a once-in-a-generation prospect. The plan was simple: get Wembanyama, develop him slowly, suffer through some losing seasons, and eventually, maybe, build something special. That plan is already obsolete. The Spurs are in the NBA Finals. Not in year 7. Not after a couple of heartbreaking playoff exits where they learned hard lessons. Year 3. 62 wins. And they just beat the reigning champion Oklahoma City Thunder in 7 games in the Western Conference Finals. Here's the part that should genuinely unsettle every other franchise in this league. This right now is the worst this team is ever going to be. Because history is very clear about what is supposed to happen to young teams. The Thunder had Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, and James Harden, 3 future MVPs, on the same roster, and they still got bounced in the second round before they ever reached the finals. The Nuggets lost in the first round 4 times before Jokic finally broke through. The Celtics made the finals in 2022 and lost to the Warriors. Even the Warriors themselves, with Steph and Clay and Draymond, lost in the first round before they won it all. Every great young team eventually hits a wall. You get exposed. You suffer a gut-punch loss in April or May that teaches you something no practice session ever could. You make adjustments, add a piece, learn how to close, and then eventually you become a champion. That's the curriculum. That's how it works. The Spurs skipped the curriculum entirely. 62 wins. A 62-20 record, and they didn't just make the playoffs for the first time. They swept Portland in the first round, eliminated Minnesota in 6, and then took down the defending champions in a 7-game war. They didn't lose before they won. They just won. The most obvious reason this is happening is the most obvious person on the floor. Victor Wembanyama is 7'4", so you can't miss him. But I think we have all become numb to what we are actually watching. When someone does something extraordinary every single night, you start expecting it, and that's a dangerous place to be. Because what Wemby is doing at 22 years old has no real historical parallel. In the regular season, 25 points, 11.5 rebounds, 3.1 blocks per game, on 51.2% shooting. Defensive Player of the Year unanimous, for the first time in NBA history. In the playoffs, he stepped it up. And then, in the Western Conference Finals, against the reigning MVP Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, against the defending champions, he averaged 28. 2 points, 11.8 rebounds, 3,006 assists, and 3.0 blocks a game. He won the Conference Finals MVP. He is 22 years old. Think about that for a second. LeBron at 22 was still 3 years from his first finals appearance. Jokic at 22 was playing backup minutes in Denver. Giannis was a raw project. Steph Curry was a late second-round pick that everyone thought was too small. 22 is when most players are still learning the league. Wembanyama is already arguably the best player on the planet, and he is not close to his peak. Most stars hit their prime somewhere between 26 and 30, which means the player who just eliminated the defending champs is likely 5 years away from being the best version of himself. 5 years. But here's what makes this roster genuinely different from other young teams built around one superstar. The depth around Wemby is just as young and on the exact same timeline. Stephon Castle is 21. In his second year in the league, he led all second-year players in both scoring and assists, 16.7 points and 7.4 assists per game. He had 5 triple-doubles this season, including a 40-point, 12-rebound, 12-assist performance against Dallas in February. He is the engine of this offense. The Area 51 nickname for him and Wemby is funny, but the basketball underneath it is serious. Dylan Harper is 20, a rookie who spent most of the year coming off the bench and still put up the 5th best points per 48 minutes average among all first-year players. He's bigger and stronger than most guards in the league. On probably 25 other NBA rosters, he starts tonight. And the starting lineup the Spurs have been running in the Western Conference Finals, featuring Harper at 20, Castle at 21, Wembanyama at 22, Julian Champagny at 24, is the youngest starting 5 in Conference Finals history. That just happened. Now imagine those players in 4 years. Castle at 25, Harper at 24, Wembanyama at 26. That is not a hypothetical championship window. That is the beginning of what could be an era. And then there's the piece that pulled all of this forward, De'Aaron Fox. San Antonio didn't have to search for years for a veteran star who could bridge the gap. They found one at the trade deadline last season. Fox gives them elite speed, shot creation, late-game poise, and critically, he absorbs playmaking pressure so Castle and Harper don't have to carry everything. He averaged 18.6 points and 6.2 assists this season. He is the oldest starter in San Antonio's lineup. He is 28 years old. He is in the middle of his prime. Championship window's close for one of two reasons. Players get old, or the team gets too expensive to keep together. San Antonio doesn't have a problem with either, and more importantly, they have structured things so they won't for a long time. Look at the wing rotation. Devin Vassell, Julian Champagnie, Keldon Johnson, Carter Bryant-Young, productive, under team control, on manageable contracts. Fox is the one big number on the books, and his deal is structured to expire right around the time Dylan Harper's rookie extension kicks in. The financial handoff is almost perfectly engineered. We have watched this story play out with other contenders. Money gets tight. Role players leave. Depth disappears. The core fractures because everyone needs a max deal and the math stops working. It happened to the Warriors. It's happening to teams around the league right now. That is not San Antonio's problem, not now, and probably not for the better part of a decade. Now there's a real skeptic's case worth acknowledging. What if Wembanyama gets hurt? He had a DVT diagnosis that cost him games last season. That's a real risk that doesn't just disappear. What if the Western Conference gets harder? What if this is a peak before the league adjusts? These concerns are legitimate, and anyone telling you a dynasty is guaranteed at year 3 is overselling it. But the counter-argument is the organization itself. If there is one franchise in NBA history that understands exactly how to build around a generational center and sustain it, it's San Antonio. They did it with David Robinson. They did it again for over a decade with Tim Duncan. Greg Popovich was at every game this season, even in retirement. Duncan, Robinson, and Manu Ginobili are around, invested, present. There is an institutional knowledge here, a culture of development and winning that cannot be manufactured. The Spurs have spent 30 years proving they can sustain success. Now they have arguably the most talented young player the league has ever produced. The youngest conference finals starting lineup in NBA history. 4 wins from a championship, 3 years in. But we can talk about the future all we want. There is still a finals to win, and the Knicks are not handing anything over. I would actually argue New York deserves to be favored in this series, and here is why. The Knicks have not lost a game since April 23rd. They swept through the Eastern Conference Finals against Cleveland without it ever feeling close. Jalen Brunson is one of the best playoff performers in basketball, full stop. OG Anunoby is averaging nearly 20 points on elite efficiency and is likely to spend significant time guarding Wembanyama. He is one of the few defenders in the league with the combination of length, IQ, and physicality to even make that assignment interesting. Mikal Bridges has rediscovered his game and is shooting nearly 60% from the field in these playoffs. And Karl Anthony Towns gives New York a front-court dimension they haven't had before, a center who can step out and punish you from the perimeter. This Knicks team knows who it is. They have been through battles against Atlanta, against Indiana, against Cleveland, and nothing rattled them. They've closed out 3 consecutive road games in must-win situations. That kind of identity and composure matters when a finals series gets tight at the end of the 4th quarter. San Antonio's advantage is named Victor Wembanyama, and it is massive. There is no real answer for him. Every team that has tried this season has walked away with no good solution, not Oklahoma City, not Minnesota, not anyone. And the Knicks, for all their defensive versatility, have the same problem everyone else does. But here is the actual tension in this series. It is not just Wemby versus the world. It is New York's experience and cohesion versus San Antonio's youth and upside. We have seen young teams wilt on the final stage before, and we have seen them rise to it. The Knicks bring a 10-game winning streak and home court advantage in the series. The Spurs bring the best player on the floor and something to prove. That is what this series decides. If you want my full matchup breakdown, the specific schemes, the X factors, the players who decided, I posted that video yesterday, links in the description. Drop your prediction in the comments below. Spurs or Knicks, who wins it? And if you're new here, subscribe, because however this finals ends, the next 5 years of San Antonio Spurs basketball are going to be required viewing.